Well, Cars and Culture on the road and at the North American International Detroit Auto Show with Michael Sprague, who is the North American Director for Lincoln. And it is, first of all, wonderful to be back at the Detroit Auto Show. It's also great to see you again.
Likewise. It's been, a couple years, I guess, right?
It's been a few years.
Yeah.
It's been a few years for the show, but it's also been a few years that I guess we've had the chance to really sit and talk product to a great extent. And there are a lot of exciting things that are happening at Lincoln, and I'm so happy that you're here to share that story. But let's just start with being at a show.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be back in Detroit. It's interesting the time of year that we're here because, historically it was January and it was cold. And it's great to see now that people have the opportunity to go outdoors and experience vehicles. And it's just so much excitement in downtown Detroit.
So Lincoln has had a prominent place in auto shows in the past. I can remember the Lincoln Continental Concept not that many years ago.
Right.
That was just an absolute stunner.
Yes.
That was on the stand there. What does it mean to you to be showcasing your vehicles? And we'll talk about some of the concepts that you have here. But in general, I'm guessing you very much believe in the consumer aspect of the auto show and the fact that you can roll out product to media.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us as a brand, it's very competitive in the marketplace, and there's a lot of people, particularly among the younger generation, that aren't necessarily that familiar with the brand. So we're able to expose them to the Lincoln brand in really an unexpected way. And also show those Lincoln loyalists, hey, look at all these great new products that we have coming out or that are already in the marketplace. So yeah, still a firm believer in auto shows. It's a non-threatening environment. People are out here to have fun and enjoy it and just experience everything. And it's a great way to showcase where our brand is going.
A friend of mine in the industry once said that it's really one of the only places where people will pay to get in to see your product.
Absolutely.
I mean, if they charged you to go into Louis Vuitton, people would do it.
Absolutely,
but,
yes.
Right, and touch and feel and the differentiator.
Right.
In a Zoom-filled, Instagram-filled world. There's sheet metal around us, Michael.
Absolutely, and you can feel that right now with the COVID restrictions coming down. People are just excited to be back and in person and just engaging with the product, and that's what's so exciting.
Lincoln's 100 years old. Unbelievable.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Right. Tell me what you're doing for the 100th anniversary, what it means to you.
Sure. So for me, I am so honored to be leading the brand here in North America at this time. Because if you think 100 years, there are not many brands in automotive, but just in general that have survived 100 years. And so I'm honored, but also a little bit nervous because I have to help set the direction for the next 100 years so that the next generation's children can experience the Lincoln brand in 21, 22.
Right.
So that's kind of how we're feeling. And so back in February 4th, which was the actual anniversary of Ford buying Lincoln from Henry Leland, we did a lot. Unfortunately, we couldn't do much in person because of the COVID. That was a COVID spike. So we did a lot digitally, really engaged a great audience. Throughout, our retailers are celebrating. They're holding functions at their stores. Back in April, we did a big event around the Star concept, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. We were the marquee retailer shown at Pebble Beach, and so did a big reveal there as well. So we have been doing kind of these chapters of our story throughout the year, and we've got some more stuff coming through the end of the year because we wanted to basically spread it out for the whole year.
I was at Pebble Beach, and I saw the enormous presence that you had there. And befitting, because I know that that's the place that you want to take the brand for its next 100 years, correct?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a certain level at Pebble Beach, especially on that 18th fairway.
Yes.
It is all about beauty and grace and performance, obviously. What are the attributes that Lincoln has or that it wants to have?
You must have read the press brief because that's exactly what we're saying is for 100 years we've had this brand where the products have been beautiful, they've been innovative, there's a gracefulness about all of them. For the future, we've got to infuse the technology, the electrification, eventually probably the autonomy as well, and that's what our L100 concept was really kind of showcasing, kind of the longer term view of how Lincoln sees mobility. And so we've got to set that up for the next 100 years, and that's what's making this time really so exciting to be a part of the brand.
So let's talk about a couple of those vehicles. We'll get into the L100 concept. That's the future of mobility. That's the direction, at least directionally, where you want to take the brand. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I think we're all trying to figure out what the future looks like. But for our designers, using inspiration from the original L100 back in 1922-23, they used that to kind of help inform the future for the L100. Obviously, from a design standpoint, very different, but it was really about creating a space within the vehicle that more than likely will probably be autonomous, and showcasing how you can use these vehicles in the future. You can use them, for yourself, for a sanctuary. You can use them for multiple people. It was also about just the colors, the materials, the technology. The future of mobility, the opportunities are so endless when you think about it, because you're no longer constrained by kind of the engine that we've been constrained by for the last 100 years. So it's been really cool for our designers to just have the freedom to think so freely.
Okay, let's go to the Star concept. What does it mean to the brand?
Yeah, so we introduced the Star concept in April when we announced our electrification strategy, and we've said we will have 4 all-new EVs by 2026. And the Star concept was meant to showcase kind of the design direction that we're going in with our EVs. And I have to say, again, our designers have just done an amazing job of being able to showcase incredible gracefulness in terms of what the design looks like and the lines, again, from an innovation and a technology standpoint. Again, staying true to the brand. It's, we're all about creating that sanctuary-like experience inside the vehicle, so our clients feel refreshed and revitalized when they've been in our products, and they just took that to the next level. So the L100 really future, the Star concept really more about maybe the next couple of years what you're going to see from the brand.
And meantime, you have products that will be on the street that are production vehicles. You launched the Corsair earlier this year, the Navigator. I've been in the Navigator. It's a fantastic vehicle, the transformation that's gone on there. You're on a journey, aren't you? Lincoln is and if some may have wondered or talked about whether it had lost its way at a certain stage, it seems to me, Michael, that it is very pointed in the direction of knowing where it wants to be at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have been a part of the Lincoln brand for quite a while. So when I was with Ford early on in my career, I basically spent most of my time on the Lincoln brand. I spent a little time at Mazda in Japan. And then when I came back to the brand, I've been primarily focused on Lincoln. So I have just been so excited to see this transformation, particularly over the last 4 years. Back in 2020, we introduced the all-new Aviator, complete game changer for the brand, a new segment that we hadn't participated in. People love that vehicle, and that design continues to just be timeless. Then we introduced the Corsair, and then we introduced the new Nautilus, and then this year the Navigator, and just earlier this week, to your point, introduced the next generation Corsair, which looks absolutely fantastic. So the brand focusing on SUVs, because that's where we see the opportunity, focusing on the beautiful design, but really spending a lot of time in terms of the interiors of the vehicles and creating these sanctuary-like experiences. And it's amazing, with COVID, we find ourselves spending a lot of time in our vehicles because we have to drop the kids off at, theater practice or sports practice, and you can't go in. And so you spend time in the vehicle and you're realizing, wow, this is really nice. I can spend more than just my drive commute. I can spend an hour in here. I can work. It's quiet. I can turn it on. It's comfortable. I've got the 30-way power seats. I've got the Revel audio. I've got, auto air fresh. Everything is just working together to make this an amazing experience inside the vehicle.
How are you going to try to translate that to future customers? What are you doing on the marketing side so that the rest of the country understands what we know as Detroiters, which is the Lincoln brand?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great question, and you'll see us shift more and more to more digital, because that's how we feel we can have more pointed communications to our prospective clients. And again, it's also showing up in different places. Like we showed up at Pebble Beach. We did the Lincoln Star Concept event out in LA because it's unexpected. It's like, wait, Lincoln? Wow, that's not the Lincoln brand I remember, or I don't know anything about Lincoln. It's coming to places like the Detroit Auto Show, where we do have a strong, loyal base of owners, but show them this brand has changed, particularly over the last 4 years, particularly because the auto show hasn't been here for a couple of years. So you remember what it was like in 2019, but boy, it's really different here in 2022.
It's not your great-great-great-grandfather's Lincoln.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly.
Is there do you have to do a big bang at some stage? Would you consider a Super Bowl, things of that nature, in terms of marketing messages?
Yeah, I don't see that. I did a number of Super Bowl ads at when I was with another brand, and they're effective for particular types of brands. For Lincoln, that's not necessarily what we need to do. We need to do more one-on-one communications with our clients. Get them to see our vehicles in person, and then get them into the vehicles and experience them. That's where we are finding we're winning with the conquests, where we're bringing new people into the brand. They're blown away.
If we look forward, Michael, the next 3 to 5 years, what will make you, what will be satisfying to you as you reflect back on what you were able to achieve with the brand?
Wow, great question. For me, I am so excited about the future of electrification. And we are in this transition mode right now. We've got our Corsair PHEV, and we've got an Aviator PHEV, which is helping to inform some of the decisions we're making when we go all electric by 2026. So I guess the biggest challenge I have is to make sure that this transition works and is effective and is successful. And we're learning a lot from others who are already in the marketplace. We're seeing the adoption of electrification, particularly amongst premium buyers, accelerating dramatically. Tesla right now has about 25% of the premium industry. That's amazing when you think, 5 years we were all questioning, is this brand going to survive?
Right.
So clearly there is an appetite for electrification and what it can do. It's now, for me, just making sure we can get there as quick as we can to capitalize on it, but still stay true to what we are as the brand.
What can you learn from disruptive brands like Tesla? There's a lot of conversation in this industry about what Tesla does.
Yeah.
You just mentioned the sales numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think actually in California they've outsold every other premium automaker now.
Yeah, he's got, I think, 50% in the San Francisco Bay market,
right.
And where I live in Southern California, it's 25-30%. It's amazing to me, and this is where I learned so much from some of these disruptive brands, the Teslas, the Rivians, the Lucids, the Polestars. Living in Southern California, I see all of them every single day. And I go to the Rivian hub in Santa Monica and observe. I go to a Tesla store. I go to the Lucid experience and see how they're reacting or how they're engaging with our clients. And then I bring that back and share it with my team and encourage them to do the same thing. And talk to so many people. In my fantasy football league, there are 10 guys. 9 of them have Teslas. And it's just like, really? And it's like, why? The ease of the purchase process.
Okay.
I will say, though, they all complained about the service experience
right.
and the problems that they were having. And that's where we have a huge opportunity. We've got a great dealer body who can take care of our customers unlike any other. And so that's where we will continue to win as we go forward.
And the EV equation's going to change anyway. The landscape will change because mainstream automakers are now going to have the options that Tesla had 10 years ago that they didn't have.
Right.
And we'll have franchise dealer network.
Absolutely.
To be able to service.
Absolutely.
That's the part in my opinion, that's the pivot point for Tesla, isn't it?
Absolutely. people still at the end of the day want to have some sort of relationship with a company. And with our retailer network, they have that. And so when there is a problem, there is somebody that they can call, text, email, and get a response. You talk to people who are Tesla owners, it's like it goes into this black hole. For us, that goes back to how we're going to leverage our retailers in the future, is really lean into them to create that ownership experience that is unlike anything else.
So in your next 100 years, what can Lincoln learn?
Wow, that's a tough question. Obviously, we want to look to our heritage and figure out where were the successful points there. And again, clearly, the design and the innovation that the brand has always been on the forefront of. So we got to keep that in mind. But in terms of the experiences, we've just got to stay one step ahead in terms of what clients are looking for, and obviously look not just here in the U.S., but now because we are a global world, there's so much interaction. Social media allows us to see what's going on around the world. Pick and choose in terms of what's happening in other markets and try to figure out, is that right for us here in the U.S.? And so you'll see us do a lot of that. Particularly, we've got obviously a huge position in China. We learn a lot from them. They're on the forefront of a lot of client experiences. So you may see us engage and pull some of those things in as well. I was just going to say, the level of luxuriousness that happens in China and Asia, we've got a lot to learn from them, and we can continue to up the bar here in the United States, and I think our clients will love that.
This show is called Cars and Culture, and I would argue that, like Mustang, like Ford, Lincoln has its own culture and has contributed to the culture of America.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it was the vehicle of presidents. It was the vehicle of musicians and actors and actresses and industry titans. And
if you had a Lincoln, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal, exactly. And I think we will see that again in the future. It will be a big deal.
Very good. Michael Sprague, thank you so much for being on the program.
Yeah, great to see you.
Thank you. Well, we continue our conversation here at the North American International Detroit Auto Show at the Ford stand with Darren Palmer, who's Vice President of the Electric Vehicle Program, Ford Model E. It's good to see you.
Great to see you again.
Yes, exactly. You've now moved to the United States.
Yes, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I started working on some hybrid programs, and then I moved into Team Edison to work exclusively on electric vehicles.
Wow, what an exciting point. You're at the epicenter of all of this change. Much like some of your other colleagues who we've had on this program already. But when you look at a 120-year-old automaker, and you look at the fact that both Bill Ford and Bob Holycross have said EVs will revive the automaker. This will be a tipping point for Ford. I'm guessing the progress report is pretty good from you. Tell me about it.
It's one of the most exciting parts of my career. I would say I didn't expect it before, but what electric vehicles have become, what they're starting to become, it's like a whole new industry. If you look at what's happened with the F-150 Lightning in particular, we've been able to make a vehicle, it does almost everything better than almost all of the gas trucks before. And that is a very exciting proposition for people. It outruns a Raptor for the price of a base truck. I mean, just that one
Unbelievable.
thing. Yeah, but that's not even the thing that's attracted people. What is most exciting is that the new technology allows you to do things you could never do before. And it's those things that seem to attract people in. That's what I think is going to pull people into electric.
And you're attracting a lot of them. Your numbers are significant now. You're number 2 in EV sales in the country.
That's
right?
correct.
Ford Motor Company is.
Yeah, and the Lightning is a big part of that. So we had over 200,000 reservations, and those customers had never seen the vehicle in the real world or touched the vehicle. And after we launched, it was a huge reaction. We decided in the end to increase production, so we've hugely increased production. It's going to be a run rate of 150,000 by next year, which we hadn't expected. And it was really featured like this mega power frunk that changes the usage of the truck into something like a cool SUV, really. and the bi-directional power, things you could never do before. That's what seems to have attracted people. Then when they try it, they realize it does everything better, and then they're hooked.
So that's what's resonating. So any reservations that there would have been going into it about, well, can I tow what I used to tow? Does it have the capability? I'm a Ford F-150 dyed-in-the-wool customer. Now they're saying, hey, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Well, people are resistant to change. It's built into us, really, isn't it? So the first thing you think about are all the reasons why not. But when you start to experience them, all of a sudden you want one. I think that's a big thing. You just want one, and you work out how that might fit into your life. Then you find out, if you ask somebody who has a Mustang Mach-E today, and around 91% of people tell all their friends and family they want you to buy one, and ask them how it fits into their life, you'll find out it fits really well. So it's fully charged every morning. It has a huge network across the country. They can drive anywhere they want to. They just go and get a coffee every 3 hours, and it's charged when they're ready. So they're ready now, but people in their minds have a lot of blocks. But with the Lightning, we can put one in every dealer, and the dealers can talk to their prior customers and say, just come and try it. And even if people are skeptical, just say, hey, come try one for an hour. What you find is, within 10 minutes, they're in their mind, I've got to have one of these.
They've signed up.
How am I going to do it? Yeah. Then they have a different mindset. They're like, how does this fit into my life? And
Yeah.
they realize if you've got a charger at home, you leave every day with 320 miles. And there's not that many days when you're going more than 320 miles a day.
Not usually.
Yeah. And then when you do, the vehicle does that for you, and it helps you get across the country, and it authorizes the charging for you. So it automates most of the things you're worried about. So really, it's this fear. But once they start trying them, they tell everybody they know. So the same's going to happen with the Lightning, I believe.
So $50 billion that you're betting on electrification. And in fact, it goes throughout the entire value chain. It's not just the vehicles, but it's the battery production over the next 5 years. Ford's putting its money where its mouth is.
It's a massive, massive commitment. It's our entire future, and the whole future of the company rides on that. So after the
Do you sleep at night?
It's usually I go to bed quite late, so yes, usually. They're long days. But yeah, it's a huge commitment from the company. It means, it's everything for us. But after the success of the first 3 vehicles, and especially Lightning and what we saw, how it resonates with people, it gave us the confidence to say, we're all in. And so this is just the first round of products. The next round, the technology is getting better and better, and you're going to be able to do even more. The next vehicle we're going to do is let's say a 3-row type vehicle, and my boss tells me if it's something like we sell today, then the project's cancelled. It needs to use the technology to do things customers could never do, and to be a compelling product that makes you've got to have it.
So all of your years in the industry, we would go through phases where you'd see iterations of vehicles, and there would be minor advances. But these are moonshots in your mind, right? The technological leap that's being made now is at a point where if Jim Farley says to you, okay, we're going to scrap the program if it's the same, that's really challenging the system, isn't it?
Oh, it's really challenging. It's also absolutely great fun. It's amazing, amazing place to work. We needed more software skills and skills in computer hardware because we weren't a computer hardware company. So Jim pulled in some new people like Doug Field, Robert Bedichuk, who worked in that industry, and they're bringing those skills in. And their mantra, they have explained to us, is to bring the two sides together, bring Detroit together with Silicon Valley and see what products we can bring from that.
So that's interesting because there's been a lot of conversation over the years about Silicon Valley's culture not melding with Detroit's culture, and these two worlds that sort of coexisted but couldn't really bring it all together. You're saying that you are effectively keeping the best of Detroit while transforming it into a Silicon Valley type of environment.
Absolutely. So we moved the company into 2 halves: Model E for the EVs and Ford Blue for the gas products. And Model E is headed up by Jim Farley, but Doug Field. And the point is to bring together these groups. So there's probably half of the leadership are from Silicon Valley and half of the leadership are from Ford in the past, many of the names you know well. And they're exactly what our culture is, bring the two together. By the way, we love each other's company. Finding out the new ideas and ways that things were done from Silicon Valley is fascinating. And for them, some of the achievements we've had, like the truck and the Mach-E and the commercial, which is now 90% of the commercial market, bringing them together and seeing what we can do together is fascinating. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, because there was a notion, Darren, that Silicon Valley couldn't really understand Detroiters. You know, because if you were at a Silicon Valley party and you were a tech creator, that you would maybe share what you were doing because it was kind of open source, and somebody would have an idea, and then that would lead to you possibly transferring that to your own company. And here in Detroit, as you know, it's been incredibly. It is a society that's or a culture that's much more confidential in its approach.
Yeah.
So has that changed?
Right. No, that's right. Absolutely, it is. And we spent a lot of time in Team Edison, immersing in that culture in Silicon Valley and seeing how that works, and brought that in to how Team Edison ran when we made the first 3 products. So we already started some of that transition. The thing I see, so much of the Silicon Valley team is based on technical excellence, on not just copying or benchmarking what somebody else did, but saying what's the best physics can do. Doug is saying that to me on a daily basis. What is the best that we can achieve with physics? And that's what we're going to do for the customer. So that brings a whole new level to us. And just an iteration from before is just not good enough.
One of the obstacles that's been put up over the course of the last few years has been EV battery materials. And, of course, you know about rising costs related to raw materials and how that's affecting pricing and where vehicles will transact at. What are you doing to solve some of those issues?
Yeah, so that the demand is driving that. And the demand is going to drive rarity of those materials, and we can see it. So it's already affected us, and everything that's going on in the world at the moment, that caused us to raise our prices. We started with a Lightning at $39,974 minus $7,500. It's $32,000. That's the price of a gas truck.
Right.
We had to raise that price a little bit because of the batteries. We're looking ahead and securing the whole value chain to make sure we've got supply of the batteries we're going to need to expand to over 2 million units soon. And so we're also looking at other technologies, because technologies like LFP allow you to reduce some of the rare minerals that you need, for example, an NCM battery. And there's another technology after LFP as well. So we're going to put these different batteries into our vehicles so that we're resilient to the commodity prices rising and falling.
And in fact, I think you've locked up 70% of the resources that you need to get to the 2 million mark already, correct?
That's right. Credible job. Lisa Drake's been leading that for us and doing an absolutely amazing job. It takes a lot. She's been all around the world, and she's to secure those resources. And amazingly, she said to me, she was in a foreign country, and they said, this F150 seems to be very successful. So, okay, yes. So it really gets around. Success breeds success, and people are seeing the demand for the products, gives them the confidence that we're going to need those materials, and we will stand by our commitments.
When you look at electric vehicles keeping up with demand and selling out as fast as you can make them, given the logistics issues that have plagued the industry for the last year and a half, 2 years, is that even preventing more people from being exposed to your product? I'm guessing the answer is yes.
Yes, it is. I mean, we undercooled the volumes on these vehicles. We used a lot of industry help too. Nobody expected that we would have over 220,000 pre-orders for a brand new electric truck in 2022. That was far beyond what anybody predicted. I'm sure we could have sold those if we had them all in hand. So that caught us a little bit by surprise. But the one thing we're quite good at is scaling up production. So we've really taken it up hugely. The F-150 Lightning will be at over 150,000 run rate by the end of the year when we upfit it, which is an amazing jump up. That will somewhat satisfy demand, but I rather trust that each person who gets one tells another one, and I think is still not going to meet demand.
What are you going to do then?
Well, we'll have to talk about that again. I seem to be in a perpetual state of capacity increase at the moment. So we're working on that one. We're literally going to work on the building very soon now to take that up. And we took Mach-E up as well to over 215,000 units on that one as well, just from North America. And the Transit as well. We're quadrupling Transit as well. So at the moment, getting all the components for that has been difficult, and chips as well.
Yeah, of course. The Mach-E is Ford's best-selling EV now. Did that surprise you?
So that one was an exciting project. The day we were there when we said we realized that this needs to be a Mustang and that it must be a Mustang. There is no choice. This is a form factor that's coming. It's a we product. It takes the emotion of Mustang into electric, but that was controversial at the time.
I bet it was.
But it far surpassed the gas product now within just a year and a half, and we see why. Both the form factor and the fact it's electrified has worked really well. It's very popular.
You'll have 1,000 Mustang enthusiasts to descend on Detroit with their internal combustion engine vehicles roaring their way here. Were you a little worried or concerned at all that that crowd would be alienated by what occurred there?
Well, I own a stick shift GT350 Mustang, which I love, so I'm a member of those groups. I talked to those groups before. We actually brought the president of both groups out to the launch of Mustang Mach-E, and they started off with, hey Darren, nice car, but I'm not really sure about this, and ended up the 2 days both ordering one, and one of them ordered two of them. So that's getting a lot of acceptance from that group too. And really, I've got both. One is more a weekend car, and one is what I use every day to work. So it can be an and equation as well.
It's kind of the point, isn't it? I mean, you can have one living in one corner of your world and another living in the other corner, depending on what needs you have, which is, I'm guessing, where this will ultimately all trail out over the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think we're basically working at the moment for one of the cars in people's households, and it's small and it's growing extremely fast. One day we're going to be working for both cars in people's households. These vehicles already, with over 300 miles and the largest charging network in America, they're already useful for everybody, every daily life. I haven't been to a gas station for my vehicles for 2 years. And the thought of having to take time out from my family to go and fill gas horrifies me now. And I just got used to it. And you build your life around it. When I go on a trip, I drive for 3 hours and I have to stop at a restroom. I plug it in. By the time I get back with the coffees, the food for the kids, and get in the car, it's charged back up again. It's not holding my life back at all. And I can't stand driving gas anymore.
So you're a car guy from, I'm going to say you're from Detroit, but I know that you're not from Detroit. But let's just say that you're a Detroiter at this stage, 4 or 5 years in. How do you convince Middle America?
By showing them what they do. So I'm delighted with Lightning, that's the one. We put one in every dealer. And then we use the dealer's connection with its customers. They've had customers for many years. They say, hey, come and try it. And some of them say, hey, not interested in that new stuff. And they say, I hear you, just try it. Because 10 minutes in one of those things will tell you a lot. It creates the desire. They didn't even know they wanted it till they tried it. It's like when you tried an iPhone for the first time. You might not have understood what it was for a while.
There were a lot of BlackBerry people around for a while.
And you know, I was once upon a time, I thought I had to have a keyboard. But it was only when somebody showed you what else there was, you realized it's not a phone, it's an internet portal, and I would rather have a bigger screen than a keyboard, and that's the difference. So showing people is key, and getting it round, friends and family, getting in this adoption curve, because people trust their friends and family, and when somebody buys one, everybody loves them. Nobody goes back, and they tell everybody they know. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to move across the country. But I'd say now is a golden time. They're a good price. You get a lot of incentives back. Government will pay a third of the installation. You get a free charger in many states, and all the chargers are empty when you go to them. So it's a golden age at the moment. Don't wait too long.
Well, especially with more orders coming in. Darren, where does the electrified or the electrification movement go from here? Like, if you look out 3 or 4 or 5 years, and we're sitting here at this show in 2027, what are we talking about as it relates to the lineup?
So I always asked, where are the space cars? Right? Where are the really futuristic cars that you're always hoping to see, and these huge jumps forward? I think we've got lots of vehicles that are great now, but the technology is just starting. The brand new form factors that electric can give haven't even started yet. And so the cars we're working on now, the mantra from my boss is, if it's like the normal car, a bit better, then the project's cancelled.
Forget it, yeah.
Forget it, because they need to be better than that. And so we're working really hard on starting with, what are you trying to do with your family or business? How may I make that better? Not starting with the car we've got today and modifying it. So they're going to look different. Some of them are going to challenge your norms and may not look the way you expect them to. And you're going to say, why does it look like that? And then when we explain to you why, if we got it right, you may just say, hey, you're right. That's right. The electric's different. And there's a reason why that.
Are you looking at other industries for disruptive tendencies or techniques or methods?
Absolutely. That's a great technique where you look at how other industries changed over time and how they survived and how they may, but better from that. It's companies like John Deere who worked to make value for their customers, who were then happy to pay for that extra value. The payment the customer made paid back many times. So industries like that and others as well. And we talk regularly to some other companies, famous companies, who are also yet to go through their transition and are asking the same question. And one of them, I won't name the companies, but they said, hey, you transformed Mustang into an electric brand. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah. We've got this excellent brand which is rooted in gas. How do we move into electric? And they're in a different field to us. Fascinating talking about that with them and what they may do.
Well, survey the landscape around the automotive world, and I don't think that you or I, when we were sitting in Europe together, would have said that Porsche would offer an electric vehicle. But lo and behold, there's the Taycan. And the Turbo S has more gravitational pull than the Saturn V rocket. So
I get it. I mean, in those days, we may have thought of electric cars in a certain way. We might not have realised fully what they could do. And at the time, people were saying to me, hey, everyone's going to rent a car in the future. They're all going to become an amorphous blob and look the same. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely not what's happened.
It's not what happened.
It's the opposite. There's more innovation now than I saw 10 years ago. And it's really exciting, trying to work out where to go, how far do you go, and what you can bring customers that you couldn't before. When I saw a gentleman brought his Lightning to me, he was a veteran and injured. And he showed it to me, and he said he had a scooter, and he said, if that scooter fits in that frunk, I'm going to freak out. And we did it on camera, and he did fit. And then he said to me privately, I can't keep up with my kids these days because, the battery runs out and Dad has to go home. Well, while I'm traveling around, I can plug it in here, and it can charge that, and I can always be full. So now I can spend more time with the kids. I mean, that meant a lot to us. That's what we're here. That's what we build products for. And I said to him, would you ever buy a product that doesn't have that? And he went, never in my life.
No way. Well, we had Linda Zhang on this program, the chief engineer of the F-150 Lightning, and she talked about the wedding that was powered by the truck because the power went out in a certain state.
It was so cool. It was a story of the whole power went out, 300 people at the wedding, the whole wedding's lost, and the guy said, hold on, I've got an F-150, and someone said, so what? And he went, hold my beer, quite literally on camera, hold my beer. And he reversed it up and he plugged it in, and then everybody, and the line that really got me at the end, then we partied till 2 a.m. I was like, wow, it's so cool.
Well, you are you are charged up. You're a charged up individual for many reasons.
It's a very exciting time. It's a privilege to be allowed to play in this sandbox, and it's got the full support of our company leadership. So I'm really excited to see and soon show what we're going to do with this.
Darren Palmer, Vice President, Electric Vehicle Programs for Ford Model E. Thank you so much for coming and sitting with us and sharing your story on our Cars and Culture program. You are creating a culture. You're creating an electric culture, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.